welcome to your first horoscope. Now we're using all the templates that you find in your download section with this lesson, the chart analysis board, for instance, and the cosmic quality of planets template. And we're going to go through this together. I would advise you, even with some practice later, even if you feel comfortable interpreting without lengthy template filling, you might wish to go back to using a template and a structured approach whenever a chart seems something like not so clear. Either someone approaches you with the question, listen, here's something fishy and I don't quite know what this is all about, and this is very mysterious. Or if it's a person where you find, like, for instance, Neptune on the rising, Neptune on the descendant, because all these indications would qualify suspicion. That means that even you as an astrologer, though you can look behind the scenes while looking at the entire chart, when looking at a person you can sometimes not see so well behind the scenes, you would still be tempted to fall into the trap of this person that you're analyzing and not even know about it. So in all these cases, I'd recommend to adhere to a very structured and disciplined approach, because whenever there is mystery or unclarity, something fishy, this is the red alert. You might fall into a trap, you might overlook something, and especially in those cases, this would be the core of what you should not be doing, because your advice would be needed to bring clarity to the matter and not to basically blow the same horn like it has been blown before by others analyzing this personality. So this is something you might use now until you feel like kind of settled. But whenever in the future there is something which is not quite clear, my recommendation would be to resort to a very structured and disciplined approach. So my template here is for you to use as an offer. Please feel also free to make your own ones if you find another structure and system more useful. So this is nothing like a standard or a dogma, right? So how would you work this? You would fill in the main conditions that you find. So here I filled in the first basics, where you don't need me to do this while you watch. So we do the things that we need to be doing with the horoscope. So the first thing we look at is, what is the rising? So we fill in here, we find an Aquarius rising. We'll write this out. Okay. So then we look at the MC, which is also extremely relevant. So the most relevant points of the horoscope will be filled in first. The MC is in Scorpio. MC is here, 2853 degrees, marked out here, and you see this is Scorpio. So the MC is in Scorpio, and we will write this out here. Okay. Then the ruler of birth. We've spoken about this before, and here is now the application on the real chart. The ruler of birth is the planet that rules the sign of the rising. So the sign of the rising is Aquarius. And now here comes in the cosmic quality of planets chart, and you go look for Aquarius and look for the domiciled planet. This is the planet that rules the sign. And here we see Uranus rules Aquarius. Okay, so we put here Uranus. And then another thing that we may wish to use is the highest planet in the horoscope, because it's also a very dominant thing to look at and to analyze. So this is not very difficult here. We look at the chart, and clearly Neptune is the highest planet. So now we're done with this. We carry on with this table. So we have here all the sun, moon, and planets, and the lunar node, and we enter the sign in which they're in and the cosmic quality that they are in, right? So let's try this out. We look for the sun. The sun is here, so we find it in Leo. We write out here Leo. And what is the cosmic quality of the sun in Leo? So you look at Leo and check whether you find the sun here. And we find the sun, and the sun turns out to be in domicile, is the ruling planet of Leo. So we write here, the sun is in domicile because it's in Leo. The same thing we repeat now for all the planets. So we look at the moon. Where is our moon in the chart? We find the moon here in Gemini. So we write down here, Gemini, and we check with Gemini if the moon appears somewhere with a cosmic quality, and it doesn't, so no specific quality. Mercury, next planet. Mercury appears in Leo. So here you have your Mercury, and there is Leo. So we put this in here, Leo. And we check Leo, whether Mercury appears there somewhere for a cosmic quality of some special kind. Doesn't apply. Venus, next one. Venus appears here in the chart and is in Cancer. So we write out here, Cancer. Okay. We look at Cancer here, check whether there is any Venus here. No Venus, no specific quality. Off we go. Mars. Mars appears here in the chart, is in Virgo. So we write out here, Virgo. Okay. You check in Virgo. No Mars here. Same. Jupiter. Jupiter appears here in Aquarius, right? Just entered Aquarius on 052 degrees. It's in Aquarius. I write this out here. And as we know, Jupiter does not have any specific cosmic quality. Saturn. Next one. So here is our Saturn in the horoscope. You can see it here. And it's in Capricorn. All right. So we go here, Capricorn. Oh, now we have here our Saturn. And it turns out Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, is the domiciled planet there. So it's a very strong position. All right. Then Uranus. Where's our Uranus? So here you have the first learning with the different types of symbols. Please feel free to use the one that you feel most comfortable with. I've just listed it here not to be confusing with too many symbols. I only use one, but please feel free to use any other. So here you see another type of symbol for Uranus. You just need to be aware whenever you see it, so you find your way around easily. But there's no dogma about this either. So Uranus is here, and we see Uranus in Leo. So we go to Leo and look for Uranus, and there we find Uranus exiled. Okay? Uranus is exiled. I'll come to the interpretation right after we fill the form to do the structured approach. I will first fill the form together with you, and then we go into the interpretation of the findings. Okay? So up next is Neptune. Neptune we find here in Scorpio. So we go to Scorpio. Check whether there is any Neptune there. Nope. Pluto. Pluto is here. Now you have the second planet here with a different symbol than in our chart. So this is one way to interpret, to symbolize Pluto, and here's the other one. So same here like with Uranus. Please feel free to use any which you feel more comfortable with. So Pluto appears here in the chart and it's in Virgo. So we write this out. So we go to Virgo. Any Pluto? Nope. Okay. Then Chiron. Chiron appears here in Pisces. And we look at Pisces. No Chiron there. Done. The next thing that we want to check is the lunar node. The northern lunar node is here in Leo. So we're done with this. Up next is the way of checking which planet will rule which house or life field. So every life field has a ruler, and I'll show you just now how to find this. And then we need to see where this ruler will appear, which means in which life field this this quality will be lived, will appear. Okay, let's try this out with the sun. All right, so the sun rules the house of Leo. Like if you want to see which sign the sun rules, you will go look for the sun here in the domiciled column, and you will find it rules Leo. Then you go into your chart and you look at the house that starts with Leo. Here is the 7th house. So here you have Leo, and Leo has one house starting in it, and that's the 7th house. So the sun in Leo is the ruler of house number 7. Then we have a look, in which house does the sun appear? So the ruler of house number 7 is in house number 6. So this is the house number 6, and the sun sits in house number 6. Just to give you a first idea of how this would work in the interpretation is that you see the ruler of relationships, sun rules the house of relationship, or this case the wife, and the wife will then appear in house number 6 as a colleague, right? Or as a peer. So it's the house of colleagues and peers, also staff, but also colleagues and peers. And as is known from the biography of the two, both are lawyers, happen to be lawyers, and this is spot on. So it's a very typical application how to use this type of analysis to work through a chart and to find which life field and quality will appear in which other life field and be connected. Right? So then we look at the moon. The moon in the domicile column is here. It rules Cancer. All right, so it's the domicile planet of Cancer. So you look for the Cancer house, and you see Cancer here, and the house that starts in Cancer is the 6th house. So moon is the ruler of house 6 and appears in the 4th house. This is the 4th house, and here sits our moon. So ruler of 6 in 4. Okay. Then we look for Mercury. Here's our Mercury. And we check Mercury appears here, rules Gemini, and rules Virgo. So rules 2 signs. So we look for the houses that start with either Gemini or Virgo. So the Gemini house is, here's Gemini, is the house number 5. So we put here 5. And then we look for the Virgo house, which is here. So it's the house number 8. So Mercury rules 2 houses and himself sits in the 6th house. Okay. Then Venus. Venus is here. So we look for Venus here in our domicile table, and we find in the column of domicile the Venus ruling Taurus, and we find Venus again here for Libra. Okay, so we look for the Taurus house. It's the house number 3, starts just at the beginning of Taurus. So house number 3 will be ruled by Venus. And now we look for the house ruled by a Libra, and we see that Libra doesn't have a house. It's enclosed in the 8th house, but no house starts in Libra. So the Venus only rules the Taurus house here, number 3. Okay. And then we have a look, where is our Venus? And it sits in 5. So Mars. We found Mars earlier on already and pointed at it. So here is our Mars, and we check Mars rules areas, and he comes again here as the main ruler of Scorpio. So possibly also 2 houses. Let's check. So where is the Aries house? The Aries house is here, and we see no house starts in Aries. This is no surprise though, because we've just seen that the opposite sign also doesn't have a house, and since the axes are straight, if Libra doesn't have a house, the opposing sign also doesn't have a house. So there's no surprise here. So we look for the Scorpio house. Scorpio house starts here. So house number 9 is the Scorpio house, right? So Mars rules now house number 9 and sits himself in house number 7. Jupiter. Jupiter is here, and we look for Jupiter in our table. We see Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Okay, so we look for the Sagittarius house, and we find this is house number 11. And the ruling planet of house number 11 sits in house number 12. Saturn, neighbor, Jupiter's neighbor here, sits in the 12th house, and we found already that the domicile planet sits in his own sign. So we look for the Capricorn house. The Capricorn house is the number 12. So Saturn rules house number 12 and sits in house number 12. Okay. Then as next, we look for Uranus. Uranus is here. Uranus rules Aquarius, so he rules house number 1 and sits himself in house number 7. Neptune. Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces. So we look for the Pisces house. Pisces house is the 2nd house. Neptune, ruler of house 2, in house 9. Up next, Pluto. Pluto is here. So Pluto rules Aries and Scorpio. We already seen just earlier with Mars that Aries doesn't have a house here. No house starts in Aries. So we just look for the house of Scorpio, and we remember, same with Mars, it rules house number 9, right? And sits in house number 7, just like Mars. So it's the same here. Then we look at Chiron. Chiron is here, and we check whether Chiron has a sign that he rules. This is correct. So here is our Chiron, and we find out Chiron is the 2nd ruler of Virgo. So we look for the Virgo house. The Virgo house is house number 8. And Chiron sits in house number 1. And the Lunar Node is in house number 7. Right. Then we continue with another way of writing this out and analyzing. This is done, now you will see just now, in order to have an overview depending on which perspective you like to look at the chart. You know? So it will help you with the interpretation later and facilitate it, make you faster. Will also support the concentration if you don't have to look up all the details all the time. All right, so let's continue. The ruler of house number 1 is the rising, so is the Aquarius house. So the ruler will be Uranus. The ruler of house number 1 is Uranus. Okay. And Uranus is in house number 7. So then the ruler of house number 2 starts in Pisces. So you check in this chart, will be ruled by Neptune. And Neptune is in house number 9. Ruler of house number 3 3 starts in Taurus. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. So we have Venus here. And Venus is in house number 5. So house number 4 also starts in Taurus. So we have to repeat the same exercise here. The ruler of 4 is in 5. Then house number 5 starts in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So I suppose you get the hang of the thing already, right? And Mercury is in house number 6. Then house number 6 starts, this is here, house number 6 starts in Cancer. So we can look for Cancer here. The ruling planet is Moon. So we put our Moon here. And our Moon is in 4. Okay. House number 7 starts with Leo. Leo is ruled by the Sun. We've seen this already, so we put our Sun here. And the Sun sits in house number 6. Then we go to the house number 8, starts in Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury and Chiron. So we'll write this out here. We put Mercury and Chiron. And so we have probably 2 houses where the rulers will sit. So Mercury sits in house number 6 and Chiron sits in house number 1. House number 9 starts in Scorpio. So the rulers are Pluto and Mars and Pluto. So we have Mars and Pluto. And we check where those 2 are. They sit both in house number 7. House number 10, same thing, because the 10th house starts in Scorpio. So we just repeat the above. Then house number 11 starts in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So we have our Jupiter here. Okay. And we look, where's Jupiter? It's in house number 12. Last one to go. House number 12 starts in Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn comes out here as the ruler of 12 and sits himself in 12. So now we're done with the first round of analysis. And you may note here something that we find here about the elements, if something is remarkable there, and if there's something remarkable in the cardinal, fixed and flexible signs that we see. So we see here a lot of fire, right? And no, let me see. Actually, it's rather balanced. So we have 4 elements in fire. We have 3 in air, 3 in earth, and 4 in water. This is extraordinarily balanced, right? So elements, you can write here, for instance, elements are very balanced. And then you can look at the quality is like the cardinal, fixed and flexible ones. And also here you have the fixed quality. I mean, you have a distribution, so he has something everywhere, but you see a lot of quality in the fixed. So this is like an overweight of fixed, of the fixed quality that we see here. Can put here. So if you ever fall into the trap to not check it, you will have it written out here. So whenever you check the chart, you will be also pointed to this, so you won't miss out on interpreting this. All right, so now we're done with our chart analysis board, and the next thing is we start interpreting the lot. So now let's start the interpretation of our analysis. All right. So I would walk through the analysis and the interpretation the way I typically do it. So I start with the sun, then I analyze the rising, the MC, and the ruler of birth, and then I go through the houses, right? And the reason for me is very simple, because the sun would represent the what the person is, and the rising would represent how the person is. So I always want to get those two main meanings and interpretations set before I look at anything else. So I want to look at the generic main quality of this person, right? So you're free, of course, to do it any other way around. I would just start here. Okay, so now we have a Leo sun in the domicile, which typically is very good for the sun as it feels at home, right? So we have our sun in the 6th house in Leo. So a Leo sun would typically be a natural leader. And now we have the sun in the 6th house, which would mean that the leadership style would be of a peer, like not anything like a bossy style, but something that would treat others like the same, like on the same level, right? So it's a very type of team leadership and team orientation here, right? So this is what we will see. The natural leader would be the sun in Leo. So you would interpret the the sun in that case, or the planet in the sign, and then in the house, right? So the natural leader, team style, right? Peer style, like appears like a colleague almost, right? So then the next thing that you want to analyze with the sun or with any other planet is not just the sign which is it in, and the house, but also the aspect that it has, right? So now we go and have a look at the table here, because here is a bit messy, or can get even messier than that here with all these lines. And it's a much better overview if you just resort to the table here on the bottom. Most astrological software delivers the table exactly like that. So you can cross-reference every planet with every other planet and see if any, but which aspect there are between these planets. Okay, let's have a look. The sun has a square here to Neptune. So we find Neptune, and then we check whether this is valid, right? We said in a previous lesson that we want to consider all aspects with the lights, like sun and moon, up to 5 degrees, right? Plus 1 degree, sometimes for declination differences. So here we have 1233 is the sun. So a square would be 30, 60, 90, 12, 33 Scorpio, right? And now 836 is the place of Neptune, the position of Neptune. So we're under 5 degrees, so we can interpret this aspect and consider it valid. You will see me go through all those aspects one by one, checking whether they are within the orbs because my recommendation, my personal recommendation to you would be to use the orbs as given in our course and nothing more than that, or hardly ever anything more than that. Why? Because you might water it down, but I've explained this in the previous lessons already. So here we have a valid aspect, and now we're going to interpret this. So we have the Sun, a natural team-oriented leader. Natural leader because Leo, team-oriented because House 6, okay? So this is how you work this. And then the Sun, this team-oriented leader, receives a square, which is a tensioned aspect from Neptune. Neptune is the planet that will make things unclear or mystified, doubtful, right? According to the sheer interpretation of the planet, right? So now you have this doubtful, tensioned aspect, doubtful, Neptune, tensioned aspect to the Sun, to the natural team-oriented leader. So how would you consider this work play out in the reality? This would probably be someone who would question and doubt his own work and decisions and approach and leadership style and everything, and personality even. The what I am is the Sun. Himself even, almost on a permanent basis, right? So he has these doubts and has to live with them. What can we say, what effect this is going to have? Now, if you have a leadership style with doubts, then this is a person questioning himself all the time, and likely this is going to humble down the leadership style to make it even less bossy than it already is. So it's already not seriously bossy at all, or top down at all, but already peer-oriented, and then delivered with doubts, basically permanently. So this will humble down the person, and he will seek to constantly review what he's doing, ask for the opinion of others, and so forth. So if you doubt your decisions, you're going to do a lot of things to feel the most secure with your leadership style. And the way probably this plays out is a very team-oriented type of leadership style that will question a lot until he thinks this is somewhat realistic and good to do. So we have a very, very considerate person who will question for a long time until he settles for a major decision and leadership orientation, right? So this is how we would interpret the Sun. Now, what else do we see here? We see a opposition given to the rising. Now the rising is on 18 degrees in Aquarius, and the Sun is on 1233 degrees. So it's say 5.5 degrees. So it's maybe valid, but well, a little bit too much, right? It's over 5 degrees already. So if there is not any declination, we'll rather leave this aside here. Okay, so we go up to the 5 degrees, and that is it. Now, the next thing that we want to consider is the rising. This is the how the person is, right? So we considered this. Oh no, I forget something. I keep forgetting this. What else do we want to consider with the Sun? You want to consider the house that it rules. So the Sun rules house number 7, all right? The house number 7 is the house of the relationship and the partner, or the married partner, in this case the wife, right? So the wife, we already said this earlier, but still we want to again go it step by step. The house ruler of house 7 of the relationship appears in house number 6. A ruler of 7 in 6, okay? This means the wife or the partner will appear as a peer, as a colleague, all right? Or as a subordinate also, but with a team-oriented style, not likely at all. Could also be a subordinate, of course, but would appear as a colleague here. And this is the case, as we all know, if we followed the bio a little bit. Now we arrived at the rising. We see the rising as such, right? This is the case with all the houses. You first interpret the quality of the house with the quality of the sign, right? The first thing we do is we interpret the rising, which is house number 1. So the personality, how the personality is. The sun is the what you are, and the rising is the how you are. So how is this person? So it's a very modern oriented type because it's Aquarius, right? You interpret the sign first. Aquarius as a rising is how the person is a very modern mind, very change-oriented, forward-looking, technology and interested, and freedom-oriented. So would grant the same freedoms to others that he would like to have for himself. So he's a very freedom-oriented person and has very innovative ideas, typically. Now we have a look. This is the second thing. First, you consider the sign. Secondly, you consider the ruler of the sign, which is here the ruler of birth. Right? In the case of the first house, the ruler of the rising sign is the ruler of birth. Here, it's Uranus because Uranus rules Aquarius. Okay? So where is Uranus? Uranus is in house number 7, which means the born, in this case Mr. Obama, does things, or most of the things in his life, together with his wife. So he's very much with the partner. So he's very close to the partner, almost like a complete union, right? So ruler of the first house in 7, right, would mean that is with the partner, because it's the house of the partner, would be with the partner a lot. Now we see the ruler of birth, Uranus here, is in exile. Okay? Now what does this mean? In all cases, not just here, in all cases where you find the ruler of birth in exile, like here, the person or the born will feel like a stranger in his own country, or like very much different from the others. He will feel different. Maybe he will be different, but he will at least feel different, all right? So in this case, this is strangely true, right? And this is the case everywhere. So everywhere you find the ruler of birth in exile, this will be the case. The person might just feel like a stranger or be a little bit different than the general norm of the people. So this is a very interesting finding. But what we can also say that typically the people with the exiled ruler of birth are very popular also outside their own country. Sometimes even more popular abroad than in their home country, which is also a very interesting aspect here, all right? So the next thing that you want to do is, now that we're looking at the ruler of birth, we want to first we check the sign, right? Rising. Then the ruler of the sign, which is here the ruler of birth in this case. And then we check in which house he is, so he's with the partner. And then you would also check, now we checked also the sign he's in, of course he's in exile, and now we check the aspects, right? So we will work the same concept through the entire zodiac. So you will get used to this process. And now let's check the aspects. Now we have Uranus here. Let's check the main aspects first, right? So we have Uranus. Let's get this line right. And apparently there is a square to the moon. Let's check whether this is the case. Well, not even with a lot of generosity, because 90 degrees from Uranus would be 30 degrees. 30 degrees is 60. 30 degrees is, 30 degrees, 30 degrees, 30 degrees, right, would be 25 Taurus, and from 25 something, 2516 in Taurus to 321 is more than 8 degrees, right? So we won't consider this at all. So the next thing that we check is, now we have Uranus here. This is not a main aspect, not a main aspect, not a main aspect, a conjunct to the Lunar Node. This is what we can interpret. In this sense, we also interpret the Lunar Node in one go. So a conjunct between the ruler of birth and the Lunar Node, it means basically that the person is very close to his calling in this life. So the Northern Lunar Node would tell you what you're supposed to do in this life, right? And now the Northern Lunar Node is in Leo, so you're supposed to be a leader, right? And it is in 7, so you're supposed to be with your partner, right? And do a lot of things together with the partner. So we can say this worked out, kind of. Really? Okay, it did. So this is how you would interpret this. So that's very interesting. Now we continue, and we have an opposition marked here to the rising. Not likely that we're going to use this. No, not at all. The rising is at 18. Uranus is 7 degrees further. That's too far. No way. So, and then we have a square marked here to the MC. Also here we're going to check. The MC is at 2853, and here is a little bit over 3 degrees, 3.5 degrees. Also too far. I wouldn't recommend to consider it. You would spare me the time for the finery. I'd leave aside some of the smaller aspects, okay? You're of course free to work that out for yourself. I would go through the main aspects and just now and again use one of the smaller aspects where it is very interesting, okay? So we've done this. Then the next thing, and we've done the ruler of birth. The next thing that we want to maybe look at is the MC, right? We've seen this also. Good. MC in Scorpio, right? If you have your life's goal, the target or the result of your life in Scorpio, then we would consider the quality of the house, of the 10th house of the MC, which is the same. Right, with the qualities of the sign first. So the quality of Scorpio is that basically life is tough and it can be really strange and hard at times, and it's very intensively felt and complex and all the sort. But it's mainly tough, okay? So, and if this is your, not just your goal, but your life's direction, right here, then you can say, what will a person do with Scorpio on the MC? It will maybe say, yes, we can do it. Yes, we can. Does this sound familiar? Right. This is a person who will never, ever give up. Okay. So this is what this will tell you, right? So we've seen this here. Okay. Then the next thing is that we would look at the highest planet, Neptune, right? So the highest planet has a quality insofar as that we can say it will guide you along and will be very dominant. Right now, this is the planet in Mr. Obama's chart that will guide him along in terms of that it will make him doubt, right, due to the sheer position. But you see, it does have other aspects as well, which we're still going to check once we get to Neptune more in detail. But the main quality is the one of inspiration and also dreamlike ideas and doubts. So depending on how you look at it, it will be inspiration that will mainly also guide this life, right? Also, in the highest planet represents what other people will see first in most cases, because it's the best visible planet. It's in the middle of the sky, so it will be seen first. So first seen would be the inspiration or the doubts. Doesn't matter, both here. And that he deals with, because now Neptune is in Scorpio, that he deals with tough matters, with difficulty, with hardship, and tries to tackle this and bring inspiration to the matter to never ever give up, right? So this is how you would work this. So we've seen Neptune here. Let's continue with Neptune here, okay? Once we're busy with Neptune, now that we have seen Neptune in the sign, like the visionary in a tough life, right? In a tough environment. So you would consider the planet in the sign first. Then you will consider it in the house, right? So the visionary in a tough life in the 9th house, which is the house of the vision. So the visionary in the house of vision, right? The inspired person in the house of vision, orientation, wisdom. So this is all house number 9. We can say here that this visionary or doubtful person, both, in a tough life, will be, or tackling tough issues, will be very vision, wisdom, and idea oriented. So we're probably looking for a lot of inspiration and visionary ideas to tackle the tough issues that he's being handed, right? So not that you can escape any type of challenge as a president, right? But if you look at the entire life, because the presidency was a kind of one of the shorter periods of his life, he used to deal with also socially disadvantaged people in terms of legal matters in his earlier life. And it wasn't just the president, but used to work with tough biographies of people and legal matters and social work. So he's well aware that life is tough and would look always for visionary ideas to still make things happen for improvement, right? So this is how you would work this Neptune. Now Neptune is, we've seen Neptune in the sign, we've seen Neptune in the house, and now we have a look, where does he come from? So Neptune rules the house number 2. So this, what we described here, a person visionary, wisdom-oriented, trying to figure out the tough life, comes from the value house, like everything you own, right? And your values, like figuratively the values and literally the values, like your money, right? So if the money or the values in general, the physical values are in Pisces, this person is likely not to build up extreme riches. So you won't find a billionaire, likely, with such a constellation. This doesn't mean that the person wouldn't earn money and would not earn well, but he would not build up anything like substantial, massive riches, right? He would rather spend his money also for good causes, right? So it would not stay much because it's Pisces, right? We know from Pisces, from the previous lessons, that also physical values dissolve in Pisces, right? Now the ruler of this house is in 9, and the house of vision, where he would spend the money for visionary ideas, right? But it's in Scorpio. So Scorpio is not that much dissolvent, but transformative, right? The quality of Scorpio is transformative. So it's likely that he transforms money into a good cause, right? That he feels is worthy, right? If you look now at his current occupation with the Obama Fund, then this can be an application of exactly that, all right? So now we've seen the planet in the sign, in the house, and as the ruler of the house. So we've been through it all, okay? So then the next thing, once we're done here with the generics, we would go through the list of planets and see how they play out in the horoscope. So the first thing is the moon after the sun. Now we look at the moon, which is also a very dominant thing that you want to look at very early in your analysis, because the entire emotionality and feeling and the type of involvement of the person in life and how it receives others, all that emotion and psyche and everything will be represented with the moon. So now we look at this moon. So the moon is here in Gemini, in house number 4. Okay, so I find it here. The moon in Gemini would be someone who is emotionally very adaptive, emotionally, moon, adaptive, Gemini, communicative, Gemini, like absorbs a lot through communication, and is very flexible toward the attitude and ways of others, so he can adapt extremely well to the ways of others, also receive very well how they are and then adapt, because it's a very adaptive sign, Gemini, very flexible. So this is a person who will receive much from others and also know very well how they feel, right? Because it's Gemini and adapting to others. And he can also adapt his style very well to how others are. So he first understands how others are, what's important to them, how they feel at the moment, and he would adapt his, like everything, personality, approach, conversations, everything to the people he is with, right? So that means there is a lot of emotion with other people, and this emotion goes to other people overall. So now we've interpreted the moon in the sign. Now we want to interpret the moon in the house. Okay, so the moon in the 4th house is a lot of feeling, also adapting to others very well, experiencing others and knowing how they feel in their own home. So at home, the same thing applies. It doesn't just apply to other people overall, but especially also applies at home. So there must be a very open, communicative, emotionally very transparent home and feel at home, how they live their life at home, right? So it's very emotionally very open. Okay, so we've seen this and we've seen this. Okay, and now we want to see which house rules the moon. Moon rules house number 6, so it comes from the colleagues and also subordinates, and from the work that we do. So the work that we do is in 6 also, and now if the work is represented in 4, house number 6, the ruler of house number 6 is in 4, then the work will happen at home. Okay, so this is where it will appear. This is how you work it. So now we've seen this here. We know that the ruler of 6, the ruler of the work, will be at home. So now during his time in the White House, this was like rather obvious, but we may not be surprised to learn with his biography that this is still the case, and used to be the case quite long times in his life, right? So very interesting thing here to find that the moon reflects this very precisely. Now, like with all the others that we've already looked at, like Sun, Uranus and Neptune, we also want to check the aspects of the moon. We've seen the moon in the sign, in the house, as the ruler of the house. And then we still want to interpret the aspects that moon has, like the connections to other life fields and to other energies, right? So now let's have a look. Oh, there's quite plenty of aspects, so there is a lot to do here. So this table tells us there will be a sextile to Mercury. So let's check this. 30, 60, so on 321 would be the exact sextile. So just not even 1 degree. So this is very exact, the sextile between Moon and Mercury. So we will use this. Now Mercury, the planet of conversation and of activity, influences with the sextile, like gently supports, this is the meaning of sextile, like the planet of action and communication, gently supports sextile. The moon that is basically in charge, so to speak, of the emotions. So communication, and a very elegant communication, because it's in Leo. Mercury in Leo is elegant communication. Slightly supports sextile. The emotional and adaptive qualities of Mr. Obama. Okay, so this is how you work it. The next main aspect is a trine to Jupiter. Let's see if this works out. Yes. So this is also very close, because we would go up to 5 degrees with the moon aspects, and we are even under 3. So now we have Jupiter, the great savior of the horoscope, and the most beneficial planet that there is in the entire chart. So the great helper and savior in Aquarius, like this would be help coming from some modernity and modern minds. They will like generously support, because it's a trine. So the great help will be of great generosity, because it's a trine, toward the moon at the emotionality. So it will be faced with great support toward this unique quality of adaptation and communication with others and how he receives others. This will be greatly supported, and it will be people from the general public, or since now Jupiter is the ruler of 11, it will be also his children, because the children are in 11, members of his association that he's member of, because 11 is the place where we are members of associations, clubs, and political parties also. So this is also great support here. We had the children and the friends, right? Now we don't know who are the friends of Mr. Obama. They're like the real friends, but they would also very generously support his qualities of how he deals with others, right? So this is how you would work the moon. Now we've done all that, included the aspects, and we carry on with the aspects. They say there is, like this table says to us, there is a trine of Moon to Saturn. Where Saturn is on 25, so 25 Taurus would be 120 degrees. So we can already see with one glance that this is not an aspect that we will consider. Up next is a square to Uranus. Since Uranus is on 25, we have 30, 60, 90 degrees. So this is also 8+ degrees. We won't consider it. You will excuse me that I work through all these aspects, judging whether they apply or whether they don't, because I don't want you to fall into the trap interpreting aspects that will never show in reality or hardly ever show. And will be so fine that you won't feel any of it, right? So let's continue. Then apparently there is a square to Pluto. So 321 and 659, so this is a square. And now we have Pluto delivering a square to the moon. The moon is this adaptive quality that we spoke about. And now we have Pluto, a very powerful force, and powerful force, quality, or person, in this case likely a quality of his wife. What are the people that he's in relations with? Not friends, because friends are in 11. Not colleagues, because they're in 6. But other types of relations that he has. There won't be too many, probably. It's likely the wife's quality. And now, what type of Pluto? What Pluto power? Because Pluto is the planet of power. Will we have influenced the moon here with a tensioned aspect? The square is a tensioned aspect. So Pluto in Virgo is a powerful force, a powerful energy or sheer power of organization and structure, like of logic, of reason, right? So with very much like powerful energy, this force will create attention to this adaptive quality that wants to speak to everybody and relate to everybody and receives the qualities, energies, feelings of everyone. And now we have attention here. Now we think, wow, this is so beautiful to have like an open ear for everyone, to relate to others so easily, to figure out how they feel and know about something to talk that matters. So why can it be advantageous to have like a powerful, reasonable force, grounding force, create attention to this talent, as we can say? Now, you might just be aware that being open for very, very many people might kind of drain you, right? You will never have enough time to maybe also even for your work if you considered this talent and wish also, because the moon will be also a very strong force towards something we do. If you consider that too much without someone stepping on your brake here, you might exploit yourself and exhaust yourself completely. So this is probably this organizing, reasoning, structuring force, powerful force, likely coming from the wife, will create the one and the other, probably also tension discussion here with this moon wanting to like relate to everybody else basically, and the wife will say, this is no good, you have to keep your boundaries also, because you can just be outside talking to people. Okay, so around about this is going to happen here between those two planets. Now let's continue our findings and see what else we have here. Now we have seen the square to Pluto, and now here is a square to Chiron. Okay, so let's see if this is a valid aspect. 519 to 321, wonderful. This is an aspect that we are going to interpret. So now we have a square from Pluto, and we have a square from Chiron. Chiron is the great healer, and in the horoscope is the healing power. So now Mr. Obama himself tends to be received by others as a healer, because it's nice in his first house, so others might consider him the great savior, something like, to put it short, they think this person can help me and now he needs to help me as well. And if you do this for too many people, because moon is also many people, all the citizens as a whole, so it's kind of really many, and if everyone thinks, now this person is my savior and can help me personally out as well, then you're going to exhaust yourself really quickly. And this is the tension that this aspect also addresses, and that the aspect to Pluto will also restrict, right? Whereby Pluto will restrict this very, very well, because it's a powerful force. And then the natural healer, that is like very sensitive again here, this influence. So you will have another tension of the wish to heal, of being in the position to heal and help, but not able to do it in that amount necessary and felt by Mr. Obama. So he feels there are so many people out there that I could help, but simply by sheer numbers of hours in the day, this won't be possible. So this is kind of a tension that he will feel on a permanent basis, and this will apply a lot in his life. Okay, now we have seen the moon, and the moon in the sign, in the house, as a ruler of another house, right? And we've seen the aspects. So we're done, and we continue with Mercury. Up next, you find the next planet that we look at is Mercury, right? So Mercury we find in Leo. Right? Mercury, the planet of action and communication skills in Leo. So we have a communication that is noble, elegant, right? So this is how you work the planet in the sign. I'll abbreviate that a little bit, because you can talk 1 hour about Mercury in Leo, right? So if you interested in some of the aspects in more depth, then there is a wealth of literature and content to be applied. So just analyzing Mercury in Leo would take you far, right? And any other planet, of course. So this is something that you can do aside, but to spare you the time, so we won't take 5 hours to go through one chart, I'll do the main meanings, and you're free to add to them at any time in your own interpretation, right? So now we have the communicator that communicates in a very elegant and noble manner. And he communicates in the 6th house, right? So we have Mercury in the 6th house. So we interpret the planet in the sign, then in the house. Now we're in the house. So the elegant communicator, with the elegant language, will communicate in the 6th house, where is his work. So communication is a great part of his work. This is how we would work this. Now let's check. Mercury rules houses 5 and 8. House number 5 is what we love and what we play. So what we love will be communication, elegant communication, all right? And what we play is elegant communication. So you will find word play in this person's language and the way he speaks. And as we all know and witnessed, this is very much and clearly the case. Then we have Mercury also rule house number 8. House number 8 is what we receive from others, and also the sexuality of a person, right? So we will leave this part, sexuality part, out here for several reasons. And we'll analyze what we receive from others and the power of transformation in our life, right? The power of transformation, if we start with this, happens in the 6th house through your work, right? And your work is communication, among other things. So your work is to be a leader. This will be the sun in house number 6. We've had that. And another part of your work is communication. And another part of your work will be seen with Cancer, like a team-like communication. But we'll do this when we arrive at house number 6. And then you still analyze the ruler of the house if you want to just analyze the whole findings here. But now let's stick with Mercury for the time being. So what you receive from others and the transformative power will play out in your work. So you will receive communication from others, you will communicate yourself, and the transformative power in your life will play out in your communication in your workplace. Okay? So this is how you would work this entire lot here. Okay? Up next, Venus. Oh no! We have some aspects to consider. So we've had the planet in the sign, in the house, with the ruler of the house, and the house is ruled. And now we consider the aspects. Okay, let's go. Main aspect here, first one we see is an opposition to Jupiter. Let's see, this is precise. It's an aspect that we can use. Now, this communicator has a very modern counterpart, modern mind counterpart, because in Aquarius, in opposition, and this is a person, like, since Jupiter is the ruler of 11, is either his children or his friends or members of the association that he's a member of, right? Other members, right? And they play out from either from the hidden or from the general public where they are. And they will be in opposition, like you will receive supportive critique, supportive because Jupiter is always supportive, right? Or almost always supportive. But in case with a tension aspect or with the opposition, because an opposition is what it literally means, like an opposition, it can be that this is also a legal opposition, like from law, legal background. So you might face in your communication also opposition from a legal point of view. So like that it's not possible from a legal standpoint what you would like to do and act, like as a Mercury, right? Mercury is the planet of communication and action. So not everything that you like to do is legally possible. So there will be a restriction there, but it will also be like a very generous support from others, and maybe a very interesting, visionary, modern influence onto your actions and communication, right? So this is the many ways that this can play out. Okay, so now we've done this. Next, there's apparently an opposition from Mercury to Saturn. Okay. No way. 25 to 230, that's much too far. We won't consider it. Then we see a square to Neptune. Square to Neptune is also too far. From 230 to 836 is 6 degrees. This is much too far. Double the distance we would allow. Okay. So, oops, not. And then we see a trine to the MC. Let's see if this works out. No, also not, because a trine from Mercury would be 220 in Sagittarius, and so this is also above 3 degrees, so we won't consider it. So now we're done with our Mercury, and off we go with Venus. So again, the same process. Venus in the sign. So a Venus in Cancer is like a huggable person, and a person who really likes to hug others. It's like a very embracing quality, because now Venus is a loving energy, right? And Cancer is this like family and bonding type of energy, the belonging together. And so this will certainly, if you see a Venus in Cancer, if it's not massively attacked by tensioned aspects, which can be the case, of course, then this would change the nature of Venus very much. We're just going to have a look whether this is the case. But as per se, Venus is going to be a very embracing, lovable, huggable person in general. So most of the Venus in Cancer types will be of that kind, a very tender, hugging person, very gentle, loving, kind people. Okay, so now let's see in which house Venus is. So you interpreted Venus in the sign, then Venus in the house. So now the loving energy in the hugging sign, as we say, is now in the house of love and the attitude toward children, right? So the fifth house is what we love, what we play, and the attitude toward our children, right? So if we start with the attitude toward our children, we will just like simply love children, our own and others, generally. A love for children, right? Then what we love is people who are very open-hearted and kind-hearted, like ourselves here in this case. So there's a great appreciation for people with the same attitude. In general, a person that radiates very loving and appreciation of in his nature, right? Now everything we play, right? So in general, we can say this person loves to play. And he will love to play with children, and he will love to play with language, and he will love to play. And if you remember some of the videos that he did, running around on his knees in the Oval Office with the toddlers, so this would be a kind of an a lived application of this finding here. So it's like a classic, right? Loves children, loves to play, and is like a very appreciative person. It's like, that's it, the toddler in the Oval Office and with Mr. Obama and the toddler running around the desk. So classic. And it was really cute. So now we've seen Venus in Cancer, and we've seen Venus in the house. And now we see, okay, Venus rules the third house, right? So the third house is the house of our communication and the short trips. So, okay, he will love short trips, but, well, so be it. There's nothing spectacular about that, but he will love expression. And the way he expresses himself will appear in the fifth house, where are the things and the ideas that he loves, right? So he will love to speak, to have conversations, express himself, and he will love to play around with that language. Okay, so we've seen this in other places as well, because now the ruler of the fifth house, Mercury, is with the elegant language in the work. So we have a very talented, interested, and minded orator who loves to play with language, loves to communicate, and loves to speak to other people. So there's a very, very strong focus. Basically, every second finding that we have here revolves around the love of language and communication and dealing with others, right? So this is how you work this. Now we get to the aspects. So you've seen, I repeat this because it's so important, you've seen the planet in the sign, in the house, as the ruler of another house, right? And then we see which are the aspects that this planet has. So we see here a square to Mars. Now, is this a square? 2235 to 147, clearly not. Up next, now we see a trine here, a trine to Neptune. Also too far an aspect of 7 degrees something. Nope, we don't use this. Then we have a sextile to Pluto. Also too far, right? See, 659, 147, 5 degrees. Don't use this. Then we have a trine to Chiron. Let's see. Also too far. Nope. As sesquiquadrat, and here is another, not a main aspect. So there will be aspects. So you see maybe the semi-sextiles here, because now a moon aspect and a Mercury aspect is really relevant. Let's look at this. If now that we don't find main aspects, we have to resort to smaller aspects. So the semi-sextiles here. Okay, we have the Venus with a semi-sextile to Moon. Now this is under 5 degrees because Moon is involved, but still we can use the aspect because it's anyway very close. And if now the Moon, this attitude that we had to be open to others, to the attitudes, to adapt to others and be much with others, gently supports, because it's a semi-sextile. So the trine is strongly supportive, the sextile is gently supportive, and the semi-sextile very gently supportive. So it's a support, but gentle, right? And it comes from this attitude and mindedness toward other people. This will support what he loves in life, and this is communication, right? For instance, yeah? He loves also love, of course, because now it's Venus, of course. And then the other semi-sextile, the slightly supportive aspect, is apparently given to Mercury, and we see this is also very close, 147 to 220, very close and exact, very exact semi-sextile. So also the planet of communication will gently support the planet of the Venus, the ruler of the third house of communication. So everything supports this communication thing here. So we don't wonder anymore why this person was known as such a great speaker in public, right? Apparently also great negotiator, but we won't know. Okay, so we've seen all that, and we've seen the aspects. There are some more aspects, so please feel free to check those out as well aside. Right, we arrived with Mars. Mars in Virgo. Okay, Mars is the decision-making power. And I would like to stick to this here. Mars is, of course, much more. It's also the idea that you have how a man should be, for instance, and the decision-making power. So the decision will be toward something, if we interpret now the planet in the sign. So then the decision-making power, Mars, will be oriented toward everything that makes things work, that makes things helpful, also quality of Virgo, that makes things function, do what they're supposed to do, and makes things organized. So everything that creates structure, if he has the decision to make whether something would cause confusion or whether it cause structure and function, or will create just something beautiful and art, he will opt for the function because his decision-making power is geared toward making things work. Okay, so he would decide also with much reason. So the Mars in Virgo is in a very good quality if you're looking for decision makers. So this will be always a very sound judgment. It might be with Virgo that they go a little bit too much into the details, because Virgo also loves details. Could be that someone with a decision-making power of this kind would start counting stairs, right? So beware, but it would generally be oriented toward making things work. Yeah? And if you need to count the stairs, you count the stairs. Okay. So now we have the planet in the sign, and now we look at the planet in the house. So this decision making will happen a lot together with his wife, so very much in interaction with his wife, or will be influenced by the wife here, but also with this reasonable influence of Mars here, right? Because it's in the 7th house. So it could be that that major decisions they discuss together and come up with together. Then once we've looked at the planet in the sign in the house, we check which house does the planet rule. So, and we've seen it doesn't rule any Aries house because Aries doesn't have a house, but Mars rules house number 9, right? So the vision that he has, that life is tough and you have to make it work, yes we can, right, is represented in the field of his relationship, in that case in the marriage. So also here you can see that basically all the visionary ideas that are decided here, they will be decided within the relationship likely. Okay, so we've seen now also the ruled house and where it would play out, and now we check the aspects. We've already seen earlier that the aspect to Venus is too great of an orbis, so we check whether the trine given here to Jupiter would be valid, and no, we see it's also too far. Then we have a trine listed here to Saturn, and we see 2530 and 2235, so this is under 3 degrees. It's brilliant. So the decision-making power that goes toward making things work, decides toward things that should work afterwards, will be strongly supported, because it's a trine, right, by the qualities of Saturn. Now Saturn makes you concentrate, makes you focus, makes things tangible, And here comes either from the general public, because it's the ruler of 12 in 12. So house 12 is the general public, or the subconscious. We'll still get to interpreting the subconscious later. But basically, if the subconscious is ruled by Saturn, this will be a person with a lot of reasonable judgment, right? So it's very tangible, intangible, you know, if the subconscious is the intangible. So if you have a very tangible, intangible, this means you get a good grasp of your intuition, right? This is, for you, this is something very realistic. So the subconscious will deliver great support and intuition for this decision-making power. It's a bit difficult to describe, but Mr. Obama will likely trust his intuition a great lot. There's nothing mystified about it, because it's all very realistic what we see here in the 12th house. So this will be a very trusting relationship to his own intuition, right? And this will be a great support to the decision-making power that we see here. So then the next thing, no more main aspects here. So you can wander off if you like to elaborate more. Aside from what we do here, there are some side aspects also to consider. Okay, now we're done with Mars. We've seen Mars as the ruler of the 9th house, and we've seen it in the 7th house. Okay. Jupiter. Jupiter in Aquarius, in the 12th house. So Jupiter is the planet of generosity and the great savior, right? So if you have Jupiter in the 12th house, that means that your subconscious will deliver a lot of great intuition. And it will be something very generous as an idea that comes out of that. Now we have a look what type of generosity and what type of quality will it have. And this will be very modern, freedom-oriented, and maybe also with pepped up with technology, because it's Uranus. So that's generosity in Jupiter will come from either when it's the house, either the subconscious or the general public. And it will be of very modern, freedom-minded or technological background and quality. Okay, and now we see what these people or these ideas, where do they come from, right? So they come from the house that Jupiter rules, and Jupiter rules the 11th house, all right? So the ideas and inspiration and support of Jupiter with modern, freedom-minded technological ideas, innovation, comes from 11th house, either from friends, members of his club, like the political party in this case, likely, or the children. So this is the three groups that belong to the 11th house. So if you're looking at where does this generosity come from, then you see, okay, it comes out of 11th house. So it will be with a background of the children, members of his own party or club, and friends. Okay. So we've seen the planet in the sign, in the house, and where it comes from, the house that he rules. Okay. And now we check the aspects. We've seen some of the aspects already, so it will be going faster the more we progress through the chart. So we see a trine to Moon. We've had this already. And now that these friends, children, or members of the club, so to speak, are also influenced very generously by the attitude of Mr. Obama to speak to many other people and to be very open to others from the moon quality that we've analyzed earlier on. So there is a great support coming from this direction. So this interplays really well here. So it's a mutual support. The one supports the other here. Of course, this goes both ways. Goes both ways. And then we have Jupiter with an opposition to Mercury. We've seen this already and spoken about it. So there will be a lot of conversation going on here, right? And it will relate between the work and the friends and the children. So there's a lot of exchange going on here. Jupiter with trine to Mars, which is not valid, is too great a distance. Then we see Jupiter with conjunct to Saturn, which we will not consider. Firstly, because it's too far, it's over 5 degrees, 5.5 degrees almost. And another thing is, if it's already far in terms of an aspect, and there is a border, a sign border in between, this waters down the aspect even more. So we won't consider this. Okay. So then Jupiter has a square to Neptune. Can hardly be. No, it's also too far. Then Jupiter with a sextile to the MC. Now this we can consider. So this is a little over 1 degree, so it's 2 degrees something. So if Jupiter, the great supporter of the horoscope, the great supportive energy in the entire horoscope, will slightly support the MC or anything else, slightly support because it's a sextile, right? It's a sextile here. So the great savior energy here from friends, family, friends and children and members of the association will support his life goal, slightly support his life goal. It's not like the generosity that everything is dumped on you and it goes by itself, but it's a slight support, right? So, and now that it's Jupiter, this will play out nicely. So there will be a number of people really supporting his goals and what he's set out to do. All right. So now then we're done here, and we've seen Jupiter in the 12th house, and we've seen it as a ruler of 11. Saturn. Now, I've mentioned this briefly. Saturn is in Capricorn and in domicile, so Saturn will feel at home. So the Saturn quality will be played out to its full. So Saturn has a way of creating concentration, toughness, and endurance, right? So now you have everything that is tangible, of course. The symbol is the mountain. We've heard this earlier. So everything that is tangible rules the 12th house. So what's this now? How can the intangible, like either the general public, 12, or the unconscious, 12, be very tangible? And the only thing like that I would come up with an explanation is that for him, the intuition and the unconscious is nothing mystified, but something that he relates to very well. So he trusts himself. There is nothing like of being overwhelmed, what is going on in my head, and what is my mind and my emotions, and what is this all doing? So he doesn't appear confused at all. So this has a very tangible, down-to-earth approach, how to trust your own intuition, unconscious, and how you will play that out. So this is Saturn in 12, ruler of 12. Okay, now we have to look at the aspects that we find here. Now we see a trine to Moon, and we've already said that this is too far an aspect. An opposition to Mercury, will not consider this either. Then we have a trine to Mars. Okay, this is very much within the interpretation borders. It's like 3 degrees. So what is this going to do? So this very stable access to the unconscious or the general public will strongly support, because it's a trine, the decision-making power in Virgo. That means everything, to make everything function. And this is kind of a very useful relation to support decision-making power with a sound approach to your own intuition and knowing what to take for granted and maybe what not. So this is very interesting and supportive here. Then we have listed here something we didn't consider before and we won't consider now, and conjunct to Jupiter is not given here. And then we have a sextile to the MC. Let's check what is the case here. We have 25, 30, 60. So at around 25, 30 would be the sextile of Saturn, and 3.5 degrees further you have the MC. Now, seeing that we learned in a previous lesson that Saturn will be late, so at least 1 degree after the exact aspect will be only applicable, you will be able to consider this aspect very well. And you would be able to consider declination difference if there were any, which we're not going to check now, but more or less you can always judge, could this be relevant? So let's consider this aspect. A slight support, because it's not sextile, that's why it's a slight support from this unconscious or general public that is very stable and realistic to the life's goals. This is an obvious nice thing to have, that your stable unconscious attitude to the unconscious will be a good supporter of your life's goal. It is, of course it will answer. Okay, so now we've seen the aspects of Saturn and we move on to Uranus. We didn't check, but Uranus we know we've really seen here. Now, next, Pluto. Pluto is in Virgo. We find it here. So we've already analyzed the decision, the power of Pluto to organize, to make things work, appears in the 7th house with the partner. It's like either together with a partner, or it's the powerful energy of the partner to organize things, to make things work. This will be the quality of Pluto in the sign. Now we know the Pluto in the sign, this is the planet in the sign. And now we've analyzed it in the house. So it will be the powerful energy of the wife or developed together with the wife, right? So this is now in the house, in the sign, in the house. Now, which house does it rule? Like Mars, it rules houses 9 and 10. So the vision of life and the goal of life will be will play out in the relationship, in the field of relationship. So also together with the wife, the vision and the life's goal will be implemented. Okay, this is how you would work it. Now, Pluto has aspects. Let's check. We've seen Pluto in the sign, in the house, and as the ruler of another house, and where it would play out. And now we check the aspects. Let's start here. A square to Moon. We've already checked this earlier. That this, I know we didn't skip this because it's a valid aspect, right? Moon is involved, so it will be up to 5 degrees, and this is a lot less. And we've seen this rationalizing power here from the 7th house, from this Pluto toward the accessibility that he has towards other people. And we've analyzed this already, remember. So this will play out here as well. The attitude toward others will be a little bit rationalized and tensioned to Pluto here, all right? Now we've seen Pluto in the 7th house as the ruler of the 9th and the 10th house. See, there is something missing. We need to put 10 here. You always find something. Then the same would apply here, of course. Okay. Then you would check the aspects of Pluto. So Pluto, we see here there is a square to Moon, which we've already interpreted earlier on. So we've seen that this is the tensioned aspect between his accessibility towards other people and the powerful reasoning here related to the wife. Then we have a sextile to Venus that we've already earlier checked and won't consider because too far an aspect. We see now a sextile to Pluto, which we can consider. Sextile between Pluto and Neptune, right? So this is an aspect that is valid, and we can consider it. And so the reasoning power, the powerful energy here with the reasoning behind it, making things function, organizing power, will receive a slight support from the inspiring Neptune here in 9. So the vision that things will somehow magically work out, right, slightly supports this powerful energy of organizing here together with his wife. So there's always an inspirational influence coming in here, which is very nice to have, honestly, because sheer organization without inspiration isn't as nice as it is with the inspiration, certainly. Okay, now Pluto here has an opposition apparently to Chiron. Okay, we'll consider this as well. It's a nice aspect. So this decision-making, this powerful energy of Pluto in Virgo will act as an opposition to this savior attitude and savior radiance that he has through this Chiron here. So there will be counterbalancing all the time with this savior attitude that I already spoke about earlier on. So very powerfully counterbalanced to actually implement this type of savior attitude in an organized, functioning manner. So if you so wish, Obamacare could be an application of this attitude with a powerful organizational energy behind it. So this could be one application of that. So what else do we find here? Now we find a square to the MC. Can be 659 to 20. No, this is too far. Okay, we don't consider it. So now we are through with the planets, interpreting the planets. We still have one asteroid to go. We interpreted the lunar node already, also in the 7th house. Now we have Chiron here to interpret. Chiron in Pisces. We've already seen the savior attitude because we've spoken a lot about this already. And Pisces is now the ruling planet of the house number 8 because it rules Virgo. So what you receive from others is now within himself. And he feels probably, now that this is in this healing energy, comes from others, because it's in house number 8. So he will be probably a person to tell you, I receive so much from others, so much healing and like healing energy coming from others, and so much learning to integrate within myself, right? Very etheric type of learning and approach, because it's in Pisces, still in the first house, but in Pisces. So this will be a person to say, I receive such a wealth from others, and I feel enriched by what I receive from others, although it's not riches in the literal sense, but in an etherical sense, like in terms of inspiration and very like finery, like almost etheric type of influences, like a real healing power. Okay, so this was the ruler of 8 in 1. Now, how you can work this table here is, even if we hadn't done it, you can also work through this, and you can say, okay, the ruler of 1 in 7, let's go through it so that you know how to work this table. It's also very interesting how to quickly check the life fields and the qualities, less in detail than we did it here, because this was very much in detail. So we don't use the aspects because we've seen them already anyway, but just a quick one. So the person himself, house number 1, where the ruler Uranus is in 7, right? So I am, the born is with the partner a lot. Yeah, it's very much attached to the partner. And then the own values are of Neptune kind. They are very inspired, right? And they come out in the house of vision in 9, so that they will be lived in the 9th house. Then the communication, the ruler of the house of communication and in interaction of how we express ourselves is Venus. So this will be a beautiful language, and it will come out in the house of what we love. So this is what we love doing. Okay, then house number 4 is ruled by Venus, so it's a beautiful home. We can already say this, there will be some beauty attached to it, and it will come out in house number 5, so we love our home. Okay, then house number 5, what we love is Mercury, is ruled by Mercury, so this will again be have to do with being active and communicative. And it will play out in 6. This is where our work is, right? Then the house number 6, or the house of our work, is represented by Moon and will take place in 4 in our home. Okay. Then house number 7, the partner is ruled by the Sun. And so it's a very elegant and noble type of constellation here for the partner, and it will play out in house number 6, so the partner will be a colleague. So we've heard this already before, twice actually. Then the house number 8, what we receive from others, is ruled by Mercury and Chiron. By Mercury, what we receive from others will play out in the 6th house, in our work, and in our own house, in the house number 1. So we really integrated it within ourselves as a learning, probably, right? So Mercury will play out in 6, the communication and the healing power of associated with the 8th house will come out in the 1st house. Then house number 9 will play and ruled by Mars and Pluto, but both are in house number 7. So the vision and the wisdom will be developed much together with his wife and revolve very much about his interaction with the wife, and the same with the 10th house. His goal in life, that's like never give up, and yes, you can type of direction here, never ever give up, will also be related very much to his wife, because it will play out in the 7th house. Now the ruler of 11, Jupiter, we can say that his children, his friends, and members of his club, or in this case of the political party, play out in the life field number 12, house number 12, either in the general public or hidden. Then house number 12 is ruled by Saturn, so the unconscious and the general public will play out in the general public and in the unconscious. So this is very stable as a quality here. Now we went through all the table and analyzed it to bits. What else can we say? We have a reminder here to look at the elements and the quality. So what does this tell us? Being very balanced in the elements is that basically he has all the qualities within himself that one needs for a complete picture and for a very round, sound decision and implementation of things of all sorts. So this is very balanced. He won't need anyone, but he will have others. So he has the wife, and he has the support of friends and children and the general public and everything. But interestingly enough, he doesn't really need it. So he doesn't depend on it. This is what it tells us. So he cannot easily be toppled over to one side because he has all the qualities very balanced within himself. This can hardly go wrong in the one or the other direction, because everywhere he has something to weigh in, and he understands the energy that he's confronted with. And now the quality, if we have a majority of fixed, let me see this here, a majority of fixed planets and parts of the horoscope, like also the rising is here, and the lunar node. So the MC is also fixed. So if we have them in the fixed signs, the majority, then this means that you are very stable. You're not like storming forward like the cardinal energy would do sometime, but you are very stable. It could be also that you're stubborn, and I believe that some of his opponents in the political arena will consider his approach toward certain policies as quite stubborn, right? So he will continue to be behind the issue until it's done. And this also plays out here in his MC, not just in the in the fact that there is the majority of fixed planets, but also here, yes, we can do it, and he will continue things until they're done. And this is supported very much by a majority of fixed planets, because this is the quality of the fixed planets and elements of the chart, that they will almost stubbornly follow through until things are done. They will sit there until it's done. So this is very supportive for this type of goals that he has in life. All right, folks, so this is the first round. We'll do a bit more of this in the next lesson, but this is a round about a systematic approach how to analyze a chart. And now I wish you a lot of inspiration and great fun doing your own chart and many others. See you in the next lesson. We hope you find useful content on this channel and appreciate your feedback. Thanks for your comments. Please also comment what interests you. We will try to cater to the most requested themes first. Please subscribe to stay updated with free content every Sunday. And remember to activate notifications to be informed about new content. Thank you for your interest, and see you again soon on this channel.